Matt Devlin, the best play-by-play voice in the business today. Yes, I said it. I'm not sucking up. I'm not kissing his rear end. Yeah. I'm telling you the truth.
You know
because
that?
Matt Devlin is the truth, kids. Yeah. Matt Devlin, knock, knock, who's there? Just professionalism. And his name is Matt Devlin. And he's courtside. How you doing, Matt? Don't do the thing where you act
great,
like.
Thank you.
Okay, I thought you were doing the thing where you.
Hey.
Oh, look at that.
What happened?
Look at
playing
this.
Hockey lately.
Just the Raptors or vaudeville back in the day?
What happened?
That's disgusting. What did you put in your mouth? What is
tape.
That?
That's tape.
That's tape?
Electrical tape? Or
Did Matt
little gaffer's tape.
Did you spend time this afternoon out of your busy schedule to put that together for us today? Is that what happened?
Actually, my good friend Roberto here, who is a stage manager, ran over to grab me, son. So, Roberto, thank you very much for doing that.
Roberto.
Appreciate that.
Shout out Roberto.
MVP.
So, big basketball game tonight, Matty Devlin. What do you think is going to happen?
So I hear. The Boston Celtics in town. It's interesting when you think about the Toronto Raptors and their schedule. You have a team with the Boston Celtics tonight with a winning record, and then Portland with a winning record. And after that, 15 of their final 19 opponents currently do not have a winning record. And so one of the easier schedules. But as you look at this evening's game, you certainly want to see how can they respond this evening after the game they had on Sunday, and then also the fact that, they've had a tremendous amount of success against the Boston Celtics here at home. They've won 7 in a row. And when you look at the Celtics and the Raptors in this series and you break down the numbers, the reality of it is Celtics have dominated on their home court and the Toronto Raptors have dominated on their home court. And, oh, by the way, the Boston Celtics are coming off of, as they categorize, an embarrassing loss against Chicago.
Yeah, wounded animal.
Matty, Sunday afternoon, I mean, you're sitting there in the first few minutes with Kawhi and Civvies, knowing full well the emotion of Friday night, which you were in the middle for as well. Early on in that game, were you saying to yourself, yeah, it's going to be one of those?
No, I don't think I was. I mean, people talk about, hey, it's a trap game. But I still felt as though, this was a Raptors team that had opportunities throughout the course of the game. Now, I will say this, that the Orlando Magic, if somebody's going to look at the Toronto Raptors and try to devise a scheme in order to beat them, you think about their shooting percentage numbers over the last 2 times they faced the Orlando Magic. Steve Clifford has done a really good job. And by the way, after Sunday, they had won 6 of 7 games, so they've played better basketball as of late. And we all know that Terrence Ross can get into that rhythm and roll that he got on this past Sunday. I didn't have a sense it was going to be one of those nights. I thought that the Raptors were actually going to be able to handle themselves, but they didn't. And so here we are, right? You have an emotional and an intense game on Friday night against San Antonio, and we know what tonight's going to bring, right? A playoff-like atmosphere here against Boston. It'll be intense, and this is a team that is really against the Raptors now. You look at what Kyrie Irving has done against the Toronto Raptors, and you have to figure out how to stop him.
Yeah, he is absolutely torched them to the tune of 30 points a game over the 3 that they have played and done it quite efficiently as well. One of the terms that we have been introduced to this year has been load management. Sid and I had an argument over the semantics surrounding load management this year, and a lot of fans on Twitter have expressed their concerns over Kawhi not playing as many games as he has not played this year. Is there any explanation that you can give to the fans that would ease their concerns, or are you just as concerned as they are?
I'm not concerned. I think at the end of the day, what is load management? It's rest. And when you go back to last season, he played a total of 9 games. And ultimately, they have kept this a fluid situation depending upon how he feels. And I go back to what all 3 of us have talked about before with the Toronto Raptors and all the fans. it's not necessarily about the regular season. It ultimately is about the postseason. So does he get to about 60 games this season? I would think that would probably be the number. What would that mean? That would mean that he would play 16 of the final 21 games. Now, here's the thing for me, and I think this played a little bit of a part on Sunday. You have a lot of new bodies, right? You have a Marcus All, you have a Jeremy Lin, and now you have Jody Meeks on a 10-day. And so over the course of, let's call it 16 of those final 21 that you look at, which would get Kawhi Leonard at 60 games this season, you do want to see some rhythm and flow from a new group of players, right? You have Kyle Lowry, and then Norman Powell is the next longest tenured Raptor. So they haven't had the same players around. There needs to be a little bit of continuity, and that just is, hey, can you get into the flow and the rhythm that you want heading into the postseason?
Matty, we were talking about the Celtics earlier today, and there have been some highs. There have also been a ton of lows here. It has been an interesting season for that team, currently 5th in the East. But as I said to Tim earlier, if you told me they were standing there at the end going to an NBA Finals out of the East, I wouldn't flinch. They still have that kind of talent, don't they?
Well, they do. A couple of things. Number one, you look at the standings right now. I think any Raptor fan would take the way it finishes right now, right? Let Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Boston have the other side of the bracket. But all that being said, as Kyrie Irving said after the most recent loss to Chicago, he goes, I don't think anybody can beat us in 7. And that may be the case. We'll have to wait and see. Does it magically all happen in the postseason? Remember, everybody looks at Brad Stevens as a brilliant coach, but this isn't necessarily about the X's and O's. This is about managing personalities. You had a young roster that advanced all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals last year without Kyrie, without Hayward, and now you're trying to bring them both back into the mix and then satisfy the lack of minutes to some of those players that got a bundle of minutes last season. So it's just figuring out all those things, and then also dealing with Kyrie, who every now and again is saying, hey, look it, guys, I've done this before. You haven't. And how do they respond to that? And as we know, it's been a roller coaster ride this year for the Boston Celtics.
Before we let you go, give us an X factor for tonight's game, because it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it is going to be a good one. The last time these two teams played here on this court, Pascal Siakam was a different player, and he didn't have a big game. Now, exclude the 2 games that were in Boston. I will want to say this real quick about that, though. Kawhi Leonard has averaged over 30 points against Boston, and you may recall back when they met the first time in Boston, he had an opportunity to win the game at the end of regulation. They ended up losing in overtime, and Irving had better than 40 points in that game. But I think Pascal is certainly going to be a key tonight, because he is averaging over the course of the last 10 games better than 20 points. And if he provides that sort of evening, I think that's going to be key. And then against this team, you got to guard the three-point line, because they generate the second most points in the NBA off of those three-point shots. And then for the Raptors, you're going to have to make some of those threes.
Yeah.
Matt Devlin sinking his teeth into this juicy matchup this evening, live at Scotiabank Arena on Sportsnet Ontario and Sportsnet 1. Matty, we love you. Good stuff.
Always great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me, and sorry that Kevin wasn't available.
Here's an emergency replacement for Kevin Harlan.
I have a feeling
will never live.
I have a feeling the Kevin Harlan thing will live for a very long time.
Yeah.
Love you. No, that's not him. No, it's not.
Right between the eyes.
He's not
Matty
there.
D.
No,
right
that's
between
Leo.
the eyes.
No.
Right
OG.
between
It's
the
OG
eyes.
there, yes. No.
Yeah.
If you see Kevin Harlan, let us know.
Similar, though. Similar. Kevin Harlan, OG,
Has
and
anybody seen Kevin Harlan?
There's Matt Devlin at Scotiabank Arena.
Kevin.